All right, in the wise words of Zealand,
Wagwan, my slimes.
You probably just heard me rant a lot about Real Madrid TV and the whole disaster that is with Florentino Perez and that whole mess, just constantly calling for corruption and wrong calls and whatever. And I'm just going to kind of elaborate a little bit more on that, get into some more recent stuff that has happened in like the past 4 days. Put it out on the line here, as you guys probably heard me say, but if you haven't watched that video, I think Real Madrid TV is a joke, that they are constantly putting out content slamming the entire federation or the calls or the referees, putting pressure on them to change calls and, you know, call in favor of Real Madrid, or else they will be criticized in front of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, probably including the stuff on Twitter. And that's just wrong. It's unsporting. It's unfair for every other team. And the fact that they can just get away with it is ridiculous. And it's convincing fans that it's like this okay thing to criticize constantly the federation. They are doing it now. Every time there's a call that goes against Real Madrid now, basically at the Bernabeu, everyone is chanting corruption in the federation. It's ridiculous. And Real Madrid TV is one of the key reasons that they believe they can do this. And honestly, in that video, I said it's not affecting the players the way they play, but realistically, it is, or I don't know if it is, but it's helping to feed this idea that they can act a certain way differently than the rules say they're allowed to behave, and it puts pressure on refs to not penalize players for acting in this way. Let me explain what I'm talking about here. All right, so here we get on Twitter. As you can see, in the last match they played, Mbappe got a yellow card for probably dissent. I don't really remember what happened. And the fans just started cheering corruption in the federation. Like, the fact that you can be upset with a call for one thing, okay, whatever, but it happens consistently. It happened 20 days ago. Real Madrid fans are chanting corruption in the federation at the Bernabeu. It's just what happens. And it's like, I get it. Calls go wrong and you get upset at the refs, and that's okay. For fans to do, it's okay. But fans believe that they can do this honestly and call for corruption and play this like victim card, like everyone is against them inconsistently, because Real Madrid TV, something that looks as endorsed by Real Madrid as it possibly could get, is saying the same thing, is criticizing them in front of everyone. And so it's like they all believe this incredible victim complex, and a lot of Barcelona fans feel the same way. They feel like the all RFEF and everything is against Catalonia and Barcelona and in favor of Madrid. Okay, that argument is basically because there's a lot of history between Catalonia and Madrid, and the newspapers are incredibly focused on Madrid-based stuff because Florentino Perez has a ton of control over publishing in Spain. It's actually insane, the stuff he can do. Javier Tebas has come out like criticizing Florentino's power in that way. And so for Barcelona fans, I'm obviously going to be biased, and so it's not going to be the fairest criticism, but they also make the same arguments. But the fact that Madrid are doing it as well, and doing it to such an insane extent, and like throwing their badge on it, is the most ridiculous thing. And honestly, it's changing the way, in my opinion, these players are not altering the way they play, or are not following the rules that they're supposed to follow because of it. Here we go. Here's a thing from their last match against Espanyol, right? We see Vinny doing his usual thing. He always yells at the ref when things go against him, and, you know, okay, whatever. But then Bellingham does it here too. Bellingham calls the ref a piece of and you know, whatever. And after getting a yellow card as well. And the fact that Vinny is actually better at not talking to the refs than Jude is. Vinny usually turns his back and screams and goes wild at the fans behind him, but he doesn't do it at the ref every time. Every time there is a foul, Jude Bellingham goes up to the referee and talks to him about that. Believe it or not, that's not allowed to happen. They aren't allowed to do that unless they have a captain's armband or their captain is in goal and they're a second captain. Neither one of these two guys are club captains in any way, and they're doing it, and they're allowed to do it. Jude does it so much, and the referee gave him a yellow card for doing that in this game. He turns around and calls him a piece of shit, and I bet nothing's going to happen. Now, something happened last year about it, and so we might see something happen now, but it's just that the fact that they are allowed to do this, or that they do it at all, honestly, they're probably able to do it because the referees are worried about being too critical of them. Because when the refs follow the rules, because these guys aren't allowed to talk to the refs. So when the refs properly give them cards for breaking the rules, Then they go out and do this, and then they're going to get criticized on Real Madrid TV. Pressure is going to be put on their careers, and it's like a disaster that Real Madrid is allowed to do this over and over again, and these guys are acting like children. Jude Bellingham is such a diva. This is ridiculous to me that he is out here doing this. He constantly feels bigger than everybody else, allowed to go to the ref. Just watch him. Every time there is a foul, he turns to the ref and walks to him and talks to him. I'm not saying he's screaming at him. It doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter how you're talking to him. You are not allowed to speak to the ref about a call, about a decision, unless you are a captain in Spain. That's how it works. And yet Jude is the exception, I guess. Vinny is out of his mind a lot with his reactions, but he does a relatively decent job of directing it elsewhere away from the referee, and so not avoiding some issue with actually going toward the referee with all of that energy that he still has and hasn't really addressed. He just redirects it. It's a better solution than what Jude is doing, because Jude is obviously breaking the rules here and deserves the yellow card every single game because he does it every single time. And it's like, it just looks to me like it's connecting. If he had a different coach that said, hey, you're breaking the rules, you can't do this because you keep getting a yellow card every time, he wouldn't do it. Obviously, Ancelotti isn't telling him that because, I don't know, whatever reason, they believe Perez has enough control over these referees that they won't call these fouls. And it makes sense because these referees are being criticized so much, so the referees aren't going to want to come out and actually like slam these players for acting like idiots, acting like children, like Jude is constantly doing. I'm not saying they're bad players, but it just annoys me that Jude is allowed to talk to the ref every single foul. And it happens over like 6 times a half. It's actually insane the amount of times he does it. And it doesn't matter if he's cordial about it or he is, healthy conversation. You're not allowed to do it in Spain. It's different than the way Vinny goes up to refs. Like, you could just see it in that clip. Vinny is losing his head. But these guys are allowed to get away with this. And they did get yellow cards in this match for dissent. So, all my talk is whatever. But they were doing it several times. And if that's going to happen, they should be carded several times, no? Like, look, and we can get into this like penalty thing from Espanyol where Endrick is pulling his player. He's kind of out of the box. He's kind of in the box. I think it's a subjective understanding of the rule, whether Endrick is in the box, the defender is outside of the box. Is it like, that is such a stupid play from that defender that I'm not that upset about it. It is what it is. They were already up 3-1. Big deal. I know it's upsetting. It's annoying. Another penalty for Real Madrid, probably outside of the box, but also part of his body's inside the box. It's his head. You can play the ball with your head. There's an argument there that I understand. And so I'm not that critical of that, and I don't think it's because of Real Madrid TV that they called that. But that, added on top of these guys constantly being able to behave in ways that we keep hearing they're not supposed to be able to behave like, I don't see it ending with the fact that the Sevilla case was completely thrown out, disregarded. Real Madrid is able to criticize not only the referees after the match, they're able to put pressure on them before the match, and now they're talking about other matches, like Barcelona matches. So I don't know where this ends. It's annoying, and honestly, I'm kind of worried about my main channel video, about it being an issue, about La Liga actually taking action on it. I don't know if they can. I used a couple, I'm concerned. They cracked down on Talk FCB last year, and he had a lot of issues using clips. And I'm worried the same thing is going to happen to me. I don't know. I try to protect myself. I understand a little bit copyright law. I'm pretty certain I'm following it, but it's a gray area. I don't have a lot of power. I have you guys. I have this subscriber number that can intimidate people, I guess. That's not really how that works. But I don't know. It's concerning to be someone to talk about it. Hopefully it goes well. If you guys can subscribe to the main channel, just bolster it a little bit. Maybe help me get me a community partner manager as the channel hits over 100,000 subscribers. I think I can get that. I'm not sure about that though. And just try and build up a little bit more of a reputation to protect myself, because I'm genuinely worried. I am genuinely worried that people will come for me. Not like attack me, but take down the channel, hurt my livelihood, because I make money making these videos. This is how I pay all my bills. I'm a little concerned talking about things like this, but it's something that needs to be talked about nonetheless. People have ignored it too long, especially in the English speaking world. We don't really cover it a ton. And I think as a Barcelona fan and as someone competing or with a club competing against these guys with this directly affecting the league table, I think it's something that needs to be talked about. And I think I'm surprised that some of these guys sometimes, but hopefully it goes a certain way. They figure this out. Hopefully my channel's okay. But thank you guys for watching. A little yap session here, but I appreciate you. Visca Barça, Visca Catalonia, and peace.